Hi, I'm Caitlin, and today we're making an easy sheet pan meal. Look at how colorful and lovely that looks. The weather is finally starting to turn, and we are finally ready to start using our ovens again. This recipe comes together really quickly and doesn't require any standing over the stove, which is one of my favorite things about sheet pan recipes. Today's recipe is a sheet pan dinner with seasonal vegetables, including cauliflower and carrots, as well as beautiful purple sweet potatoes and a pork tenderloin. As always, this recipe will be linked in the description box below, so you can click that link to get the full recipe and blog post with additional tips. To get started, we're first going to whip up an easy marinade for the pork. For this marinade, I'm using olive oil, apple cider vinegar, honey, whole grain mustard, some dried herbs including rosemary and basil, salt and pepper. You can also add the juice of half a lemon, but I forgot to add that the first time around. Whisk all that together or shake it up in a jar. I recommend marinating this pork overnight if you have the time, or you can always store it in the marinade in a freezer bag in your freezer, but typically I only have the foresight to marinate it for about 20 minutes before we start cooking. Add the pork to a large bowl or a flat container and season it with some salt since this marinade isn't that salty, then pour over some of the marinade. I like to reserve a little bit to dress the vegetables, but you don't have to. You can use the whole thing to marinate the pork if you prefer. While the pork is marinating, let's prepare our vegetables. You can cut or break the cauliflower up into small florets. The smaller they are, the quicker they cook and the crispier they get. Next, we will just chop the purple sweet potato into bite-sized cubes. And for the carrots, I really like this roll cut. I find that they cook a little more evenly and it's super cute. Add each of the vegetables to the sheet pan, then drizzle them with whatever oil you prefer to roast with. Add salt and pepper. If you decided to save some of the marinade, you can also dress the vegetables with the marinade and toss them in that. It's really up to you. I sometimes remember to do that and sometimes I don't. You want to make sure you mix this together, so get in there with your hands and stir it all really well. Make sure you don't overcrowd the pan. As you can see here, I felt like it was a little crowded, so I removed a few handfuls of the cauliflower. Now it's time for the pork. Some people prefer to roast pork tenderloin wrapped in foil, which you can also do simply by adding the pork tenderloin to a sheet of aluminum foil and creating a little bit of a pouch. But I will say that this method does take longer. Benefit is that you're less likely to dry out your pork. It stays much more moist because all the juices are trapped. However, it can take up to 10 or 15 minutes longer to cook. So when you're trying to do a sheet pan meal, that may or may not work for the other vegetables that you have. I prefer to place the pork directly on the vegetables so that everything cooks in about 25 to 30 minutes, and the juices from the pork can further flavor the rest of the vegetables. I do recommend using a meat thermometer to ensure that the pork is cooked to the appropriate safe temperature. I just got a brand new meat thermometer that allows me to monitor the temperature of the pork while it's cooking, so I'll link to that in the description box below. When everything is done, remove the pork to a cutting board. I like to allow the pork to rest for 5 to 10 minutes so it stays nice and juicy. When you're ready to serve, just slice it up and enjoy. The total cost of this recipe comes to $13.54, which comes to about $3.39 per serving. The price of pork tenderloin really varies from store to store. Sometimes it's a very affordable cut of meat, and other times I find it to be quite expensive. Look at how colorful and lovely that looks. Time for a taste test. Yum. Oh, it's good. I love the tangy marinade. There's a little bit on the vegetables as well. The pork is tender and perfectly cooked because I had that meat thermometer, and the flavors blend together really well. Plus, it's colorful. All right, that's it for this recipe. Thanks for being here, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more healthy and affordable recipes. See you in the next video. This marinade doesn't, oh my God. What am I trying to say? The vegetables to roast. This recipe is a little, this recipe That allows me to monitor the temperature of the cook